Star Trek Voyager's Doctor before Robert Picardo was a TNG criminal. Before Robert Picardo took over as the Doctor on Star Trek Voyager, the titular ship had a human chief medical officer played by an actor who first appeared on Star Trek The Next Generation. After the USS Voyager was stranded in the Delta Quadrant, Captain Catherine Janeway, Kate Mulgrew, and her crew spent the next 7 years fighting to get back home. Voyager's initial arrival in the Delta Quadrant was not without casualties, and the ship's chief medical officer and all of his medical team were killed during the ship's transport. As a result of this unnamed doctor's death, the surviving crew members activate the emergency medical hologram to care for the wounded. Although the MH was not designed to serve as a chief medical officer or to run indefinitely, Voyager had no other officers with the necessary medical experience. So Robert Picardo's MH became Voyager's doctor, and his journey to become more than his programming became a running theme of the show. After his untimely death, Voyager's original CMO may have been largely forgotten in the chaos that followed, but he was portrayed by Jeff McCarthy, who had previously appeared on Star Trek The Next Generation. Jeff McCarthy played Star Trek Voyager's original Doctor before Robert Picardo. In Star Trek Voyager's two-part premiere, Captain Janeway sets off on her first mission in command of the USS Voyager. She has been tasked with finding the missing Maquis vessel, the Valjean, on which Lieutenant Tuvok, Tim Russ, has been working undercover. When Voyager sets off, the ship has a full crew complement, complete with an unnamed chief medical officer portrayed by Jeff McCarthy. Before Voyager departed Space Station Deep Space Nine, this doctor performed physicals on some of Voyager's crew members, including Tom Paris. The CMO had heard of Tom Paris and his past work as a mercenary for the Maquis, and he made no effort to hide his obvious dislike of Paris. He even warned Ensign Harry Kim, Garrett Wang, to stay away from Paris, advice Kim would thankfully ignore. When the powerful entity known as the Caretaker sent Voyager to the Delta Quadrant, the ride was a turbulent one, and an exploding console in sickbay killed the CMO. His entire medical staff was killed as well, leaving Robert Picardo's EMH program as Voyager's only experienced doctor. Jeff McCarthy also played former soldier Roga Dinar in Star Trek TNG's The Hunted. Jeff McCarthy had previously appeared in Star Trek The Next Generation Season 3, Episode 11, The Hunted, as escaped prisoner Roga Dinar. In The Hunted, Captain Jean-Luc Picard, Patrick Stewart, and the USS Enterprise to visit Angosia 3 to evaluate the planet for potential entry into the Federation. While there, a supposedly dangerous criminal named Roga Dinar breaks out of a nearby prison. The Enterprise aids in the pursuit and capture of Dinar, only to learn that the man is a soldier who was used and discarded by the Angosian people. Captain Picard confronts the Angosian leader and learns that they created genetically enhanced soldiers to fight their wars, but later imprison the soldiers rather than help them return to civilian life. Dinar then single-handedly escapes from the Enterprise, eventually traveling back to the prison to help several fellow inmates and former soldiers escape. When the soldiers storm the capital, Picard implores the Angosian leader to hear them out, saying the Federation cannot get involved in their affairs. Jeff McCarthy makes Dinar a compelling character, and it's a shame the actor only returned for such a brief stint on Star Trek Voyager. Before Robert Picardo brought to life one of the most beloved characters in Star Trek Voyager, the holographic Doctor, he made a brief but memorable appearance in Star Trek The Next Generation, TNG, as a very different kind of character, a villain. This less-known detail provides an intriguing contrast to his iconic role as the emergency medical hologram, MH, showing just how versatile Picardo's performances can be. Picardo's work on Voyager cemented him as an integral part of the Star Trek franchise, but his earlier appearance in TNG as a morally dubious character offers an interesting layer to his Star Trek journey. In Star Trek Voyager, Picardo's Doctor was a character who evolved far beyond his programming. As the ship's EMH, he was initially a utility, a piece of software meant to act only when the human doctors were incapacitated or unavailable. However, due to the ship's stranding in the Delta Quadrant and the death of Voyager's chief medical officer, the Doctor was forced to assume a permanent role. His journey from being a tool to a fully realized individual is one of the most compelling character arcs in the Star Trek universe. Through his interactions with the Voyager crew and his development of hobbies, relationships, and even an existential awareness, the Doctor embodies a core theme of Star Trek, exploring what it means to be human. But years before Picardo was cast as the Doctor, he appeared in TNG during the show's 4th season in the episode titled The Nth Degree. This 1991 episode follows the crew of the USS Enterprise as they investigate an alien probe, which eventually boosts the intelligence of one of the crew members, Lieutenant Barclay, to a near-godlike level. Picardo played Dr. Gromick, a doctor at the fictional Daystrom Institute who is tasked with examining Barclay's sudden and dangerous transformation. While Picardo's role as Dr. Gromick was brief, his portrayal was memorable for its subtlety. Gromick is a scientist concerned with the ethical and medical implications of Barclay's condition, yet he remains somewhat detached. The role contrasts sharply with the empathetic and often witty character of the Doctor in Voyager, as Dr. Gromick was more focused on the science than on the human element. This clinical detachment in The Nth Degree stands in stark contrast to the profound emotional growth Picardo would later portray in his role as the Doctor. This appearance in TNG was one of many guest spots for Picardo on television during that era, yet it didn't indicate the important place he would later hold within the Star Trek universe. His casting as the Doctor on Voyager in 1995 was initially met with intrigue, but over time, the character became a fan favorite. Picardo brought a unique blend of dry humor, vulnerability, and intelligence to the role, making the Doctor not just a walking encyclopedia of medical knowledge, but a character who struggled with his identity, sought relationships with his crewmates, and questioned his limitations as an artificial being. Throughout the 7 seasons of Voyager, the Doctor's development served as a powerful metaphor for themes of autonomy, sentience, and equality. From creating a name for himself to penning operas and even challenging Starfleet's authority, the Doctor demonstrated that being holographic didn't make him any less a person. His fight for recognition as a sentient being was a central part of his narrative arc, much like Data's quest for humanity in TNG. But where Data was an android striving to emulate human behavior, the Doctor was a program forced to confront his own artificial limitations and overcome them, evolving into something much more than his original coding intended. Picardo's work in Voyager was not only pivotal to the show's success, but it also showcased the depth of his talent. His ability to switch between sarcasm and sincerity, and his portrayal of the Doctor's gradual transformation from a machine into a compassionate, self-aware individual, were key to the character's appeal. Yet for those who look back at Picardo's brief appearance in TNG, the transformation seems even more significant. In a franchise obsessed with the theme of personal growth and transformation, Picardo's journey as an actor mirrors that of his characters, from a detached, utilitarian role in The Nth Degree to the deeply human portrayal of the Doctor on Voyager. In hindsight, it's fascinating to think about the fact that Robert Picardo played 2 such vastly different roles within the same franchise. His first appearance may have been a footnote in the grand tapestry of Star Trek, but his portrayal of the Doctor on Voyager proved that he was capable of much more. While his role as Dr. Gromick in TNG was limited, it's hard not to appreciate the symmetry in Picardo's journey within Star Trek, starting as a background character, only to later become one of its most celebrated stars.